I'm sitting in a room called Property. The room's inside a plain, modern building, surrounded by a plain, modern fence. This is the room that they brought me to when I first arrived. I suppose they call it the property room because this is the desk where they sort through your things, your clothes, money, photographs, whatever papers you have. It's a bit like lost property at school back home, but I'm not here to sort through clothes today. Today, in this room, the property is me, and I'm certainly lost. I'm the lost property. I remember the lost property room at school. Sometimes there'd be a hat or a jumper and it'd stay there for months. It'd never find a home. I hope somebody's going to come and take me home soon, because I can't go back to Australia. I suppose I should be good at waiting. Should be a bloody expert by now. Waiting's what we do in here. It's a big part of my story. Our story. I mean, they're all different, but they're all the same. There is no shortage of stories out there that would keep you up at night. It's more a shortage of people who really want to listen. Anyway, if you're interested, my story goes like this. I was born on the east coast of Australia, little country town. My earliest memories are playing in the yard with my mother, running with my puppy, and looking out for my little brother Darren. I didn't know anything about the government at that age. Didn't affect my life in any case. But that started to change. By the time I started high school, there were TV shows about the wars. Wars in places with names I couldn't pronounce. There were posters at school about how to keep safe. They said that even though the wars were far away, that bad people might try to come and hurt us in Australia. These people were called terrorists. The internet was just being developed, and you could sit there in the afternoon and look at pictures from other countries, listen to songs in other languages. The first time I saw pictures of Almanesia. The land of fortune, they called it. A South Pacific island rich in natural resources and agricultural land. Multiculturalism had flourished since the Second World War, and tourism continued to supplement the economy. Mum and Dad said it was the kind of country that Australia used to be like, before things changed. I did well in high school. I didn't have much luck with sport or girls. There was only one girl I ever really wanted, but we seemed to be stuck at best friends. Her family moved north when we were 15 and we lost contact. But I never forgot her. Change is easy to see when you look back, but harder when you were living through it. By the time I finished high school, the keepers were everywhere. We still had police, but they seemed to have been demoted a rung or two. They still outnumbered the keepers, but seemed to back off when the keepers got to work. And with more keepers, there were more rules. By the time I turned 18, there was a curfew for children and adults. Alcohol was prohibited, and gatherings of 4 or more outside of the family required government approval. Worst of all, the new laws meant that the government was always right. They could search you without a warrant or any obvious justification. They could even lock you up, purely on suspicion, for weeks. And when your trial finally came, they would always justify any error or lack of evidence with the importance of national security, keeping us safe. It seemed that the wars overseas were dragging on, and that meant that there wasn't much money to go around. I moved to Brisbane after high school and joined the technical college to study IT. The government put me in the fast track because of my good grades. I was studying internet communication technology. It was amazing to me. I felt like the internet could open up the world to anybody sitting at home with a screen. But at the same time, I was discovering that our internet was being censored, heavily. The keepers made me sign a lot of forms after my first year exams.
Here at Oztech, we're very excited. Technology has been advancing very quickly at the moment, and the government has made a number of investments.
So I guess you could say it was a confidentiality agreement. It seemed that the internet had come about just in time for their grand surveillance plan. The idea was fresh, the technology was fresh, and I was fresh to the industry. They offered to train me to construct and service home boxes. These were black boxes which would be installed in every home, wired to the phone, the internet, the electrics, the meters, everything, to keep us safe. And so I said yes, and I signed the forms. Because Dad wasn't well enough to work anymore and Mum could only manage 3 days with taking care of him. And that's how I ended up working for the state.
You don't work your own sector. People are going to want you to disconnect their home box or fix it. They might not have the nerve to ask you, but you'll see it in their eyes. And that's a serious offence, which I'm sure you know.
Yes, ma'am.
All home box installation and maintenance comes under national security. So Sector 4 is mostly suburbia. Families, school kids, parks, boring. But boring is good. Boring is easy. So civilians use the roads and we use the tunnels. So it's just us, Eddings. There's not much traffic, so don't be late for work.
I remember my first trip in the tunnel. It seemed to go forever. I suppose society had changed a lot since I was a kid. People were scared. Scared of the wars, scared of terrorism, scared of me. And scared people usually don't give too much trouble. And that was how life went along. And then in 2013 I was assigned Sector 7.
At the time I was renting a little unit. I really tried to make it feel like home. I'd always loved to draw, mostly people, and superheroes were my favourite. People with the courage to make a change. I suppose it was a daydream. A young fella, Dave, and his mother lived next door. Dave was a good kid, cheeky as they come, but he had a good heart. In another age, another country, I think he would have been just fine.
The National Intelligence Regional HQ is located on an island. The only way in is across the bridge. And the only way out is across the bridge. I don't know how many snipers watch the bridge, but they always get the job done. Green light means go. Red light means no.
Routine uploads and hardware checks on all home boxes.
You'll be on call for hardware and software issues as they arise. You've landed a good job in a good area, Eddings. Don't screw it up. Any questions?
Oh, ma'am.
Good.
Sector 7 was a nice enough area. People had money, big houses with well-kept lawns. They were suspicious and scared like everyone else, but I'd still get a chat out of them from time to time.
How are ya?
In the last year, there were really only 2 clients that made the difference. 2 of the reasons I'm here. Sometimes I thank God I found them, and other days I wish we'd never crossed paths. As for Johnny Beach and Charles Kelly, well, I think trouble had been waiting to find both of them for a long time. There was something about Johnny that defied the last 20 years, unaware of the changing world around him. I found out later that he'd been picked up by the feds a few times. They might have even roughed him up a bit, but they never broke him. Johnny was anything but brittle.
G'day, Cobber.
Good evening, sir. Sorry to come by so late. I'm from Oztech.
Here to tinker with my hi-fi, are you?
Unfortunately not, no. I'm here to do some routine homebox service.
As a registered agent of the KUS, you're here to protect me from foreign terrorists and my own personal inadequacies by censoring my internet connection. Yes?
As a registered agent of the Australian government, I'm here to carry out some homebox repairs.
Well, be my guest.
Thanks.
Cider, mate, it's lovely.
No, thanks.
Suit yourself. You must be pretty keen, coming out this late on a Sunday. I hope they're paying you overtime.
Sadly, no. Anyway, looks like you're going to need components, so I'm going to have to come back next week.
Whatever.
Johnny?
What's that, babe? You alright?
No, I just think we can go.
Come back inside, we'll get you some tea. You'll be alright.
Hey, Johnny. You might want to hide that, mate. There's patrols tonight.
Thanks, mate.
I left wondering why I'd warned him. Cheeky bugger. I was only informed of the patrols because I serviced the grid. If anyone found out that I'd leaked the schedule, I'd lose my job. But as I looked at the grid that night, that web of control, I wondered how much longer I could keep playing along with it. A cog in this machine, forever grinding away, in fear of an enemy we never saw. I'd never seen so many uploads ordered in a week. And it all made sense. Charles Kelly, a man who probably posed the biggest threat to political status quo in Australia. Apparently he'd just moved to town. It's no wonder he was under full surveillance.
Twice in 1 week, eh? Should I be worried? Are they onto me?
Local network reboot, mate. You got 30 seconds until she comes back on. Now, you should be more careful.
Why? Come around tomorrow night, mate. There'll be a gate open down the back.
Eddings, I need to see you at HQ today. I have an important job for you. It'll take priority over the maintenance rounds, but you may continue these over the next month if time permits. Your job. I want you to read this as many times as it takes to commit it to memory. Then I want you to destroy it. 1 month, Eddings, starting today. I want daily uploads. I want everything. We can't take it through the grid. There are too many eyes in the system, and not all are as loyal as you and I, Eddings. I want this all on one drive, hand-delivered to me at the end of the month. Do whatever you need to. I'm switching your tracer off. This month, you will be a ghost. Level 1 grid access. None of this leaves this room. If there is a problem, you speak to me. Just me.
You actually came. And here I thought the old Aussie barbecue was dead.
Hey mate, I'm Joe.
Johnny, good to meet you, mate.
Yeah, likewise.
You're looking a lot less edgy tonight than usual. Are the cameras down or something?
Yeah, we're not going to have to worry about them tonight, trust me.
Yes, I must.
What do you mean?
Trust you. You're the first Fed I've ever had over for a beer, after all.
Bugger off, mate. I'm a technician.
Whatever helps you sleep at night, mate.
What did you say?
Yeah. Walk on through. Joe, this is my wife Anna. Hi.
Hi, Joe.
Hey, you don't mind breaking the rules, do you, Johnny?
To be honest, mate, I love it. It's not about being a villain. It's just that a man's got a right to sit in his yard after dark, to listen to his music, and to drink a bloody cider when he pleases. And I do it whenever I like. And it makes me happy.
Johnny, settle down.
All right, love. I'll pick my battles.
So you work for Oztech?
Yeah, I've always liked computers and I've always liked people, so, you know, it kind of works out.
Johnny and I, we work at the bakery on Chatham Street. He
Oh, yeah.
bakes and we take turns delivering on bicycles.
I think I've seen you out there. Cheers.
Yeah. I look like such a nanny on that bicycle with my little basket. Do you play checkers?
No, not really.
Would you like to learn?
Sure. Minute.
Thank you.
So, you're a baker, Johnny.
I am a baker, but lately found a much better use for yeast.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
You're not joining us?
Oh, no, I'm trying to cut back.
Suit yourself. So, how does this even work?
That's the question.
I let her do all the work by putting all the stuff on the board, and I randomly move things around, and it's not.
was one of the happiest nights I can remember. Was it the alcohol? No. Something was awakening in me. A longing for truth, for love. And when I got home, I used my new privileges to look for her. It had been years since I'd seen her, but I knew I could find her in the system. So she was about 1,000 miles away, north. The town that we used to call Cairns. She'd obviously been promoted several times. I always knew she'd do well. I just never thought she'd, or I would have, been part of all of this. I was starting to stray from the path. I knew it that night. And I wondered when I would see her again. Perhaps she'd be sending me to jail for hacking. But if hacking meant that I could see her face, it felt worthwhile. The next morning I awoke with one question in my mind. What was behind Johnny's bravado? His talk of truth and justice was inspirational, but it didn't justify risking his life, or the life of his wife. So Johnny was untouchable. Nobody was going to arrest the nephew of a colonel, and Johnny knew it, so he was pushing the boundaries, playing a dangerous game. And Johnny wasn't the only one.
Hey man. Hey Joe, how are ya?
Good man. How's it going?
Yeah, pretty good. Big night, hey. Met this amazing girl. My buddy's house party. Seriously, man, amazing.
Hey dude, come over here. Dave, have you been drinking?
No, man. I haven't.
Mate, you've only just gotten home.
Yeah?
Well, what about the curfews, mate?
It doesn't matter, it's fine. We found this old place. It's like an old factory.
There's cameras everywhere, man. They're gonna catch you. You know what the punishment is?
It's bullshit.
Yeah, well, maybe it is, Dave. But there's nothing you can do about it right now, mate. Pull your head in.
Joe,
Go home and see your mum.
Joe, I can look after myself, alright?
You're gonna need looking after, mate.
But I wasn't taking my own advice. I started to drop in on Johnny and Anna every couple of days. I was free in a way I never had been before. We spoke freely about the government, the wars, the surveillance.
You know who my uncle is, don't you?
I did.
Yeah, I thought you would. He's a good man. He was in the army long before all this crazy shit started. He's well respected, and he should be. He's the only one that speaks his mind anymore. We need more people like him.
And it was true. But Charles was one of them. He treated me with respect and dignity while I continued to focus all our electrical eyes and ears upon him. In the middle of that month, my little brother Darren was back in town. We had this kind of ritual, and this time it was no different. It was the best place for coffee in town.
Man, are you alright? You seem, different. You met someone?
It's not exactly the best job for picking up girls.
What about Eva?
Dude, why are you always asking about her? I haven't seen her in ages and I really don't expect to.
Yeah, but you guys, you were...
Yeah, 15 years ago.
Sure? You're alright, yeah?
Yeah, I'm alright. It's good to see you, man. I better go, hey? Take care.
Joseph.
Hey,
Hi.
is everything okay? What's wrong?
Have you seen David?
No, not for about 3 days. He was just coming home. Why?
I don't know where he is. I tried to talk to him, but he just went to bed and then he got up and left. I haven't seen him since. It's 3 days.
Have you called the police?
No, of course not. I don't know what to do.
Okay.
The database showed that patrols were heavy in our sector for the past week. I hope for the best, but on the streets the keepers acted almost independently. They answered to no one. It's funny how things can simmer for years and then in one day they all seem to hit boiling point.
Uncle Kevin's been court-martialed. For being a good man. For being strong. For standing up for what's right. I don't know, mate. Those bastards have been waiting for their chance. Happened maybe 2 days ago. He's in Southeast Penn too. It's over, Joe. The feds have been following me for weeks. Uncle Kevin might appeal it, Joe. But it's over for us. For all three of us.
I'm pregnant, Joe. We can't stay here, Joe. We can't raise a child here, living in fear. Walking around every day on thin ice, just trying not to fall through. We can't stay.
Fleming, as you know, we have our operative Verena James looking after the election campaign for East Coast Region 3. Now, I can't quite put my finger on it, but I suspect she's up to something. She's too ambitious. I've noticed some disturbances in the grid, and I'm not sure I can trust her to take care of Kelly. I'm going to need you to get on the next train tonight and go down there and make sure she knows damn sure who she's working for.
Mom!
Dave! David!
Hey! Dave! God. Just put him on the couch.
What are you doing?
They got me on William Street down near the park. There was like 3 or 4 of them. It was dark after the curfew. They threw me in the boot and they took me down to the docks. He told me that they wanted to show me my friends. They took me down and they showed me them hanging at the docks. They told me, but I didn't think it was real. It's real, Joe. It's real.
She took him home, and I was alone. My mind racing. Terrorism and treason, the two crimes deemed worthy of execution. The meaning of these words had been widely interpreted. The government keeps us safe. The government represents the state. So messing with the government is terrorism or treason. And both of these led to the docks. David was lucky to be alive. Johnny's gold pass had expired and the state had a few bones to pick with him.
I had no doubt that the metadata from Kelly's house was in the lab already. The keepers would stitch up a couple of sound bites and make out Charles Kelly to be another crooked politician. Enough to exclude him from the elections, maybe even put him in jail, or worse. It was all too easy to frame a man when everyone was afraid, and I'd played my part.
Anna was pregnant. But the person I couldn't stop thinking about was Hacky. Donald Hackman, the hacky sack. Darren's best mate in primary school. He was a cheeky little punk at school, but he turned out all right. His father was a university professor. Years ago, he spoke up against censorship of the media, made a documentary.
We cannot allow this state of affairs to continue.
The feds put him in jail and then they went after his family. I hadn't seen Hacky or his dad since. But Hacky wasn't in jail. He'd run. He'd packed up some exit papers, he'd gotten on a plane, and that plane had left Australia. When you're backed into a corner, you can either fight or flee. It's the law of the jungle. But there are some fights you can't win. Hacky knew it and I knew it. So I called my little brother and asked him to meet me downtown.
Like so many good Australians, my little brother had made some tough choices growing up. He'd set up a safe house out in the country, well off the grid. Where I'd always been good at drawing pictures, Darren was better with words. He'd replicated documents and used a loophole in our airport security system. Hacky was the first person Darren had managed to get out of Australia. And since then he's helped dozens more to escape. Darren had always been driven by a sense of justice, and he was very good at what he did. Nobody could change his mind. I didn't even try. And only one thing really mattered. So far, he hadn't been caught.
Hey, mate.
Joe, are you alright?
How's your uncle, Johnny?
Well, they pinged him for national security, telling him it was all going too far. You won't get an appeal now. My credit card didn't work this morning, Joe.
Sorry, Johnny. Let's crack a beer and drink to your uncle. Disconnected your home box and all the cameras in your street. Started something I can't stop, Johnny.
What's going on?
So I told them everything. David, the executions, my assignment, the setup. I told them that I couldn't be a part of it and that pulling out would put my life at risk. I also knew that getting exit papers was putting my brothers at risk. The punishment for forging one document was the same as forging 5, and so I'd requested papers for myself, Johnny, Anna, and my neighbours.
It's up to you. I've disconnected half of the home boxes in your whole network, so this place won't stand out. But if you want to burn these and pretend that you've never met me, I completely understand.
They're coming for me, Joe. They've been waiting for their chance. I don't want my child to grow up without a father. Not with these bastards running the show.
Awesome. I was hoping you guys would come. I've booked us tickets for tomorrow. At this point, that's purely symbolic. The approval's already been sent electronically. That means we move through the airport like keepers. No questions, no bullshit. By the time anyone notices that we're gone, we'll be in Malaysia.
VIP passes from the dark side, eh, Joe?
Yeah, something like that. There's just one more thing. I want to leave a little something for our friends and neighbours. A little taste of the truth. How would you guys feel about one last delivery run? To this day, I don't know how I made it off that bridge. It was as if somebody had ordered them to let me go. But there was no time to think about that. We had to stick to the plan. We had to leave Australia immediately. With the grid disabled, we could move undetected. We took the tunnels and then out onto the back roads to the airport.
We separated in the line and just tried to look normal. I suppose looking afraid was pretty normal in Australia. I found my seat and sat down, my hands clutched in my lap, trying not to fidget. And then the plane took off. As we left the ground, I couldn't believe we'd actually made it this far.
Dear neighbours, today is the day you need not walk in fear. Your movements are not being watched. You are not being tracked. Your vehicles are not being traced. Today the internet is open. The world outside awaits you. A world where democracy and civil rights still exist. This day will not last forever, but this day is all we have. If you doubt these words, turn on your computers. Access the internet. Seek and learn as free men and women. Kind regards, Oztech.
Where's the activity log?
It's been deleted. Whoever it was has really covered their tracks. We need to get the system back online, and then we need to make a full inquiry. We need every officer interviewed.
I'll recall all the officers tomorrow. We'll need all of Oztech.
No! First I want you to get the system back online. We can recall the officers later.
But that could take days.
Well, you better get started, Officer James.
Who the hell is Eddings? You find this Eddings! You find this Joseph Eddings and you bring him to me!
I was born into a refugee camp. I've never had a land that's been my own home.
I remember being on the boat, and this one morning, a pod of dolphins swam right by. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen.
The waves were like mountains, but I didn't have a choice. I had to be brave.
I remember looking into the horizon and thinking, what does the future hold?
فکر آزادی و صبر و انتظار که برای اوز روی عذاب بکشن هی صبر کنن گریه کنن بغض کنن هی بگین حالا چی کار کنن وقتی صداشون نمیره اونا چی کار کنن مردم دارن دورم میمیرن از بی عدالتی دارن میمیرن از گرما همه بردن اما دیگه حالا همه مردن یه جوری میمیرن که مردم نمیفهمن مردم و انگار همه میخندن اون که مثل ما همیشه مثل ما بوده الان داره مثل ما همش مثل میخنده به ما داره همش میخنده به ما
Joseph Eddings from Australia. Now, I don't suppose you have a visa to come to Almanesia, do you, Joseph?
I'm a refugee, man.
Yeah. And let me guess, boat came from Jakarta, correct? Yeah. Well, perhaps you should have sought asylum there. You do know it's illegal to come here by boat without a visa. Look, I'm going to need you to fill these in. Give us all the details you can, and the rest will be insane. Here's your room. Bathroom's downstairs. You're in quarantine until you get your results tomorrow or the next day. Alright?
Thanks. Do you know when my application might be processed?
I wouldn't be holding my breath.
Yeah, please.
What is your name?
I'm Joe, sorry. How are you?
I'm good.
What's your name?
Alio.
Very nice to meet you, Alia.
Nice to meet you too. Where are you from?
I'm from Australia.
Oh, Australia.
Yeah.
Skippy.
Huh?
Skippy, kangaroo?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Australia.
Yeah, nice one. Where are you from?
Me from Somalia.
From Somalia, wow.
My parents, they died in Somalia. So
Oh, that's no good. Yeah, Australia's not so flash anymore.
Where you come from before you come here?
I came from Malaysia. I was there with a couple of friends.
I know Malaysia.
Yeah.
Life there is very tough too.
Yeah, it is.
Good morning, Joseph. Oh, Nariman. Hello. How are you? Oh.
How did you sleep?
Oh, I was very tired. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Nariman, this is Alio. Alio Nariman.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I was very tired. Very tired.
Yeah.
Playing God. God, we made it alive. But I was very much praying for him. Man.
Which man?
There was a man on a boat. He died.
Oh, I'm very sorry. But I'm glad we are together and we made it here. Let us go have dinner now, okay?
Sounds good.
Mr. Eddings, what brings you here to Almanesia?
I refused to aid my government in illegal activities. Fraud. They wanted me to frame an innocent man, and I refused. I also disabled their internet censorship so that the Australian people could have access to the truth.
Look, we're aware of what goes on in Australia, and when you return, the judicial system is going to demand a trial.
Yeah. They'll demand a trial. And everyone who ever stands up to the government is always found guilty and killed. Australia's my home and I love it, but I can't go back there. I won't go back.
Look, I'm truly sorry to hear that. I really am. But to come to this country, you need a visa, and you have no visa. So you're already off to a bad start with the judicial system of Almanesia.
I wasn't aware I'd broken any law. I'm seeking asylum under the Refugee Convention of 1951.
Look, Almanesia accepts refugees every year, thousands of them. They apply for their asylum, they wait their turn, and when their turn comes, they fly over in airplanes. And guess what? We welcome them. But we can't have everyone making a rush at us in these tiny wooden boats. For one thing, I understand a man died on your trip, so you're lucky to be alive. But you broke the law by coming here without a visa. So I'm gonna interview you, and I want your whole story, please. All of it.
If I've broken the law, I'll answer to a jury.
You don't get it, do you? There isn't gonna be any jury.
But you said I'd broken the law.
You have. You all have. It's a big problem for me, and it's a big problem for my country. Now, if you could begin, please.
I was born in 1980 on the north coast of New South Wales.
Hey, buddy.
He doesn't say much, mate. Barry.
Hey, Barry.
Barry Dean.
Joe Eddings, how are you?
Good, mate.
His name's Jason. Did 5 years in Sydney South for treason. Bastards had him in the pit for 10 months.
Yeah, what's the pit?
That pit, mate? Small cell, tiny windows. 10 months in a shoebox would do that to anyone, I reckon. God knows what else the bastards did to him.
So treason?
Treason. They reckon he was a journalist. Wrote something bad about the government.
I wouldn't have thought anyone had published that anymore.
No one does anymore, mate, that's for sure. Nobody does. Nobody writes or says anything anymore. They've got their bloody surveillance cameras everywhere, even in your living room. Sneaky bastards. Jace! Cup of tea, mate? What about you, mate? What's your story?
Sparky in Brisbane.
Right. Join us for a cup of tea then?
Nah, I should probably go, Barry. Nice to meet you though, mate.
Righto, mate.
See you around.
See you around.
So the waiting began. I'd applied to Almanesia for a visa and I waited for a response, but there was no response. There was just day and night. Meal time, sleep time, wash time, internet time. I tried to create a new email account to somehow search for Johnny and Anna, but I knew they had no money to use internet. They were just getting by, holding on a tiny room. I didn't dare try to contact Australia. I knew there was a crane waiting down at the docks for me. I was stuck between a rock and nothing. I'd taken an airplane to Malaysia, a boat to Jakarta, hidden in the back of a crowded truck to the harbour at dawn, and a deadly voyage to this wonderful country. And all for this prison for the innocent. I suppose this place doesn't look too bad on paper. We have shelter, food, but the tension is always there.
The despair of having run from one disaster into another. My greatest fears are for the children. I watch them watching us. I wish we could show them a better world, a better way.
People were always coming and going. Coming in was routine. A white van from the beach into the property room. Blood test, chest x-rays, quarantine, and here's your room. When they came to transfer you out, they came in the early morning. It was no coincidence, it was a strategy. They would come at 4 a.m. when you lay warm in your bed, your guard down, and rip you out into the cold. By the time your screams had woken up the others, you were behind another locked door. And then you were on a plane. And then you were on an island. I used to wonder if the average Almanesian met me and actually heard my story. Would they not want to give us a hand? Well, Almanesia is a democracy, and 6 months after I arrived, we had a visit from their chosen representative.
All right, everyone. The Minister for Immigration will be making a visit on Thursday. Now, obviously, you're going to want to make a good impression. And if I were you, I'd do my best to make him feel at home.
Everyone was excited, hopeful. The children did paintings and decorations. The adults were all looking their best, wearing the best clothes they could all find. We all thought this was our chance. Surely he would hear what had happened to us and understand. Alia was a qualified radiographer. Nariman was a mechanical engineer. We all wanted to work, to contribute, and we wanted to tell him.
When you came here by boats, you broke Almanesian law. You will never settle in Almanesia. Compounds have been set up on Saimin and Ruin Islands. This is where you will go. This is where everybody will go that comes to this country by boat. Tell your friends, tell your families, you come to this country our way, with a visa, or not at all.
After the minister left, there was a terrible silence in the room. It was a couple of months before I could draw again. I slept a lot, let myself go. I'd started to go numb. The doctor put me on antidepressants. I don't know if they helped or not, but I took them. Maybe they're a substitute for my waning sense of hope. As I lay in bed at night, I could hear their voices.
I left my country because they killed my parents, my brother, because we do not worship their God.
Third day, we had a bit of a storm and we knew that it was going to go really hard, it's going to break down the boat.
The day I stepped on the boat, I lost my name. Ever since then, they keep saying a number, and I can say that number in my sleep.
I fled from my country to make a new life.
But another problem add-on was the motor got broken. I was very worried about my family because I could have any time see them drown on the sea and couldn't
I think
do
if they
nothing
take
about
away
it.
people's names and give them numbers, it's harder to feel for a number than it is to feel for a person.
Eddings, any idea why I've called you in here?
No.
Well, CCTV has captured you tampering with one of our routers in E-block. Care to explain yourself?
It was broken and I fixed it.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to fix that thing for the last 3 weeks. But I had a report booked in and a technician was supposed to be here tomorrow, so I'd appreciate it if you'd leave the maintenance to us in the future.
Well, some of us can't always hold our breath for that long, mate. And then one day something good happened. An Albanesian woman came to visit us.
Guys over here.
I hope to this day that she represents the population better than the immigration minister.
Hello, welcome.
Hello, my name is Mia.
Oh, I am Naraman. Have a seat. Well, would you like some tea or coffee?
Oh, thank you. Some tea would be lovely.
So Mia, what brings you here this evening?
I'm representing Albanesians for refugees. We couldn't all make it tonight, but this message is from my group. We want to welcome you to Albanesia and apologize on behalf of our countrymen and women for your incarceration. We welcome you.
For some reason that brought tears to my eyes. After nothing but white walls, disinfectant, clean sheets, boiled water and paperwork, this small gesture of sincerity and warmth was almost overwhelming.
Thank you.
You have to understand, many Albanesians are afraid of terrorism, afraid of poverty. Some are just afraid of change in general.
We are not terrorists. Joe may look like one.
Whatever.
We are gentle people.
People know that you come from countries where there's problems like we have never seen in Albanesia, and they worry that you might bring these problems with you.
If we wanted trouble, we would have stayed at home. Right, Barry?
Right, mate.
I mean, Australia is beautiful. The beaches, the rainforests, hell, even the desert is beautiful. I love my country.
We would all have stayed at home if we could. We didn't come here for your money, for your jobs, but your government, he keeps spending all of this money for us. For what?
The Albanesian government keeps a lot of secrets about the management of refugees. It would be hard to know where all the money is spent.
No. It is your right. It is your right to know. You see, I tell you, okay? Your government, he put people on island, okay? And you have him here, big Mr. Government. And they have company. Lots of company pay big money, okay? And then we have you, taxpayer, paying tax. But for what? You need to know. It's rubbish.
Yes. How do you know all of this?
I read on the internet, newspaper, everything.
And Joe, Barry, you must have read about Albanesia on the internet.
Internet.
Yeah, it's a bit complex. The internet's been really heavily censored in Australia for years now. But in the early 90s, I remembered looking on the internet and seeing Albanesia. I thought I'd come here for a holiday one day.
Holiday. Welcome, sir, to the Almanita Grand Hotel. Can I take your order?
Yes, I would love a couple of visas, please.
No, no visa. But one rule, no more talk of politics, okay?
Fair call.
Let's play card.
Okay.
You pick a card and I will guess.
She's a fortune teller.
You see your card? Okay, you have king. I know you have king. You show me.
Ooh, you have a
I don't
king.
have a king, but I have a jack.
Oh, second best.
You're my silver medal, honey. I was going to say that one too.
I sat there for hours with Mia, hearing her stories, telling ours. She promised to come back soon, and we looked forward to that. A lot. It was hard getting to sleep that night. I kept thinking about Ava, wondering where she was now. Okay, my turn? Okay. We'll do this one? Yeah?
No, you can't do this.
What do you mean I can't do this?
You can't do this.
Why not?
I show you, come on.
Oh.
What?
Why
you can't
not?
do that. Come on.
Boom!
Look, you can't do this. I showed you before. You not remember?
Oh, give me a surfboard any day.
Are you surfing? You good, sir?
Oh, well, I'm not going to pick up first prize at Margaret River, but yeah, I can ride a wave.
You in surfing river?
No, mate, no,
Okay.
not a river.
I think
Look,
surf a river.
I tell you what, man, when we get out of here, I'll try and teach you to surf, okay?
Good.
Okay?
We go surf. Okay,
Cool.
good.
Well, how's your English coming along anyway?
Very good now.
Very good? Yeah? Let's hear something. What are you practicing?
Okay, I have some who give.
Give? Yeah, that's good.
Who given.
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 Given, yeah.
That's why I say this, yes?
Yes.
Who gave.
Gave. Gave.
Very
Gave.
good now.
Yeah?
Yes. Who live. Live?
Live?
Yeah.
Yeah, or live. That's one of the weird ones. You
No.
can spell it. It's live or live. It's the same one.
Okay,
Crazy language.
Very, very crazy.
That's good.
No, not really. Look, I teach you backgammon,
Yeah.
or you teach me English.
That sounds like a fair deal.
Very good. Okay. So, we watch. Okay. You just remember, there is always hope in the dice. Okay?
Yeah,
There
yeah.
is always hope.
Hey, Barry. How you doing, mate? Come take a seat.
No thanks, mate. I think I'll stand. Joe Eddings, the electrician. Funny thing, Joe. I'm an electrician too. Worked as a sparky for 25 years in Brisbane. And I don't fix internet routers, mate. And we both know electricians don't fix internet routers. So I'm thinking, you either work for Oztech or something even worse. But you know what, mate? I don't really care which one it is. I don't care at all. I just want you to stay away from me and stay the hell away from Jace. And you better hope you get a visa, mate, because if you go back to Australia, you're going to get it even worse than me.
You don't understand, Barry.
You're dead right, Joe. I don't.
That night I had a dream which I'll never forget. It was so simple, but it said so much. I was on the bridge, running. The alarm had gone off and I didn't know if I would make it. But just as I arrived at the other side, just as I thought I was free, I saw them waiting. And that wasn't the worst part. I stopped, I looked back, and I knew there was only one way off that bridge. And I took it. Weeks went by, I kept pretty much to myself. I felt a little guilty, but actually more angry than anything. Whatever job I had done in Australia, I was only serving the system as much as anyone else. I had very little choice. Barry wanted someone to blame, to vent his frustrations on, but I didn't really have time for it.
Joe.
How are you?
Hey, Mia. How you doing?
I have a letter from Ruin Island, from a woman named Anna. She knows you.
Dear Mia, thank you for your kind letter. How is your family? I hope your work is going well. It is very hard just waiting. Baby Kevin is doing well. He gets heat rash and mosquito bites, but we're trying to give him a good childhood in this place. Some people here don't have any family. Johnny is so quiet now. He used to talk a lot and make jokes, but now he doesn't say much all day. I only wonder where our Kevin will grow up and what sort of life we can give him. I don't want to stay in this prison forever. Thank you for writing to me, Mia. Kindest regards, Anna, Johnny, and Kevin.
At least we know she's alive.
I'll trade places with her in a second.
We don't get to make those choices, Joe. We don't make those choices.
And where was David? Had he also ended up in a compound somewhere, or in prison? I wondered if I would ever see him again. Almanesia were divided on what to do about us.
They break the law when they come here by boat.
Who were we, these people who came on boats?
We need jobs for Almanesians. And we need to secure our borders for national security. We don't need Australians to bring their violence and radical views here.
Many wanted to help us. They rallied, marched in the streets and made blockades in the city. There were always the voices of fear.
Man, we already take 20,000 refugees every year.
Of doubt.
The rest of the immigrants can wait their turn, or they can take their problems somewhere else. Well, we can't just open the floodgates. But how many people can we take, man? What's the magic number? I mean, why are they coming here in the first place? If you're on the run from Australia, that's fair enough. If you've been tortured, well, they put you in prison because you don't agree with the government. Well, if that happened here, we'd all be in jail. But if an Australian moves into my street, can you guarantee that my family will be safe?
Joe, I want to apologise, mate. I got a message from my sister today by email.
It's not possible.
She knows where I am, mate. She knows I'm alive. She got a message through to Barenka on the internet.
It can't be.
Can't it be, mate? The surveillance in her local grid broke down a year ago. And mate, Joe, the TV's reporting this as a breakdown in hardware, but we know the word on the street, the word out there is, mate, it was an inside job.
I'm really glad she found you, Barry. Tell
Mate.
her to take care, all right?
Mate, come here. I'm sorry, mate. I'm really, really bloody sorry.
And that night I slept well for the first time in forever. The next morning, Barry was called into the property room.
Hey, Barry, I need you in the property room, please.
We thought he was getting his medication. We never saw him again. One of the guards told us he'd been taken to Ruin Island on a direct flight. A week later, there were riots on the compound on Ruin. Mia came in 2 days later. She'd been in touch with colleagues on Ruin Island and confirmed that Anna was unharmed. The doctor in the compound had checked and the baby was fine. But Johnny had been taken with 14 others to prison on Ruin. He was held under Ruanian law, and there was no telling when he would be returned to the compound. And something inside me had died with Barry. The hope that maybe one day we would make it out of here.
You've just got to hang in there, Joe.
That maybe, despite all the fear and miscommunication, people were going to realise what had happened.
For what, Mia? For what?
And I was lost. To my parents, my brother, to Ava, to my country, but most importantly to myself. I was outside in Barenka for 5 weeks. Mia came in to see me. The time went by in a haze, and then one day I got a big surprise.
G'day, Joe.
Haki, what are you doing here?
Mate, I've been here for 10 years. I'm a citizen of Almanesia. It's unreal.
Haki brought in a lawyer one day who said he might be able to help. He was very cautious not to get my hopes up too much. I said I doubted that he could. But he kept at it. And it did help to know that somebody was trying. Someone was in my corner.
Hi there, Joe. My name's Terry, and I'll be your lawyer. You have your refugee status, you have your health checks, and there's been ample time for background checks. I'm very glad that you've remained on shore in Almanesia, where we can meet. For now, we need to wait and hope that the department will look favourably upon our appeal. Now listen, Joe, I know you've got a lot on your mind. I know you worry about your friends back on Ruin Island. I just wanted to let you know a class action is underway. Now I can tell you this because it's been in the papers all this week. It really is no secret. It involves several refugees on Ruin Island. A group of Almanesian lawyers are working together to get them back on the mainland. Once they're on the mainland, they would have access to Almanesian medical services and security services. Now many people feel that the deaths on Ruin Island would not have occurred on the mainland. Our first world healthcare system and police force would be available to address any problems. I have a child, Joe. One day I'll have a grandchild. The Albanese government currently says it's okay to imprison Australians, Somalians, Iranians for years in offshore compounds without first world facilities and without proper judicial process. If Albanese government thinks that it's acceptable to treat refugees this way, I just wonder who's going to be next, you know? Will it be my grandchildren living in fear of this? And if so, how is Albanese any different from those countries which refugees are trying to run from? Now, some people think it's a curse to have refugees running to us, wanting help from us, here, in this country. I tell you, Joe, the curse will be if they start avoiding us. If you know what I mean. Oh, listen, Joe, I nearly forgot. My son showed me this picture just the other day. This is us, Earth, that little blue dot. He's just 10 years old, and he's learning about the planets. And when he showed it to me, it looked just so lonely. This little blue dot. And then I thought to myself, we're not lonely. We've got each other. And when I see this, I think, you know what, I know that together we can help one another. Now, I know you studied science, Joe. I just thought you might like to have a look at this picture.
I was outside in Barenka for 5 weeks. The mental health clinic was good for me. The staff were kind and there were no guards. I was on some kind of pharmacy cocktail, and I guess that helped too. But I had a little peek at the world, and that made the biggest difference. Jason started to come back. Like a faint beacon in the night, I saw him flicker and grow slowly brighter. So I watched and tried to keep healthy, keep calm, keep sane.
Back in Australia, the police had given way to paramilitary and the lines were blurred. Thousands of citizens had been imprisoned since I left. Dozens had been executed. Things were clearly going to get worse before they got better. My mind just kept going back to Darren and Ava.
I did think about God. I'd never been religious myself, but there seemed to be a lot of good advice in many religions. We humans often seem to have trouble taking that advice on board. A lot of my friends would pray. I have to admit, I didn't really pray myself, but I hoped. I hoped as often as I could. And my lawyer was making a special appeal for me. And the outcome was something to hope for. So I focused on that.
As the months went by, not much seemed to change. Another war had broken out, and climate change had brought droughts and tsunamis to ravage many nations. Millions of people were forced to move for freedom, for safety, for survival. Governments moved to lock down their borders. Some politicians played on the fear of mass migration and used this to bolster their own domestic powers. And we became political currency. We were here in detention to prove a point, that Almanesia had strong borders. So we waited. After my 4th Christmas in detention, I realised something. While I might never actually live in detention, there's a very real possibility that I could die here.
I found myself looking up to the sky at night, at whichever stars the city lights didn't cover up. I thought a lot about the photograph, the little blue dot. About us, humans. Most religions, most societies and institutions teach us to love our neighbour. Treat them as we would have them treat us. When times are good, we don't need to call on our neighbour for help. But when torture and rape and murder drive us to run for our lives, we can only hope that the help that we do need will be waiting. And perhaps this is a good test of what humanity really means. Do we stop to help the fallen or continue on our busy way? When our neighbours come to our doorstep asking for help, do we see this as a threat to our domain or a chance to achieve that most fundamental goal of community? A chance to love our neighbours as ourselves.
Being locked in this compound for 5 years has taught me how similar we all are.
When we learn to understand each other, it becomes obvious which choices we should make. We all need to make those choices. And then, this morning, they called me in here.
Here I am, 5 years after I arrived by boat, sitting in the property room, waiting.
For all I know, they could be printing my visa right now, or fueling an airplane to take me to Saiman Island. I sit here on the doorstep of my neighbours. I can only hope that today they will show me love.
Okay. Just remember, there is always hope in the dice. Okay?
Yeah,
There is always hope.